Hey everybody, it's Bill Cecil again with your tip of the day. Hey, today's tip is a great sponge activity and a great team building activity that you can use in your classroom. And it's called Ask Your Kids a Question of the Day. And what I do is in my classroom is every day I pose a new question. And throughout the day, if we ever have any free time before we switch classes or before the bell rings or if we're standing in line waiting to make a transition and we have to hold up for a couple minutes, what I'll do is I'll ask that question and give kids a chance to respond. And it's a great incentive also. For example, I'll tell my kids when they're coming back into the classroom, if you can put everything away quietly and get out this next thing that we're going to start the lesson with in 40 seconds or less, I will take a couple minutes and ask a few people what the question of the day is and let them give a response. And if you're great during the lesson, at the end of the lesson, I'll take a couple minutes and ask a few more people. And I'll do that throughout the day. And then tomorrow I'll ask another question. And the kids come in every day and even ask me, Mr. Cecil, what's the question of the day? What's the question of the day? And I'll say, you gotta wait. This is a great activity. It's a great sponge activity. Teachers are always looking for sponge activities, and this is a great one. It can be pulled out and used at any time and really get the job done. But more importantly, it also really helps to build your team, because as kids start to answer more and more questions, not only do you get to know your students better, but they get to know each other better and realize they have a lot in common, or they find things that interest them about people. And it's just great follow-up questions or great discussion starters for maybe something else you want to do with your kids, or you refer back to it. I've even gone back at conference time and talked about questions they've answered and say, hey, and they was like, Mr. Cecil, you remembered that. Of course I remembered that. It helps me to get to know them better, and also it helps them to realize I really do care about them because I remember these things. Now, where do you get your questions? You can make up your own list. You can have the kids help generate a list of questions. I go to educationworld.com and I look at their sponge activities. They have little questions that you can ask for writing discussion starters. Or you might have a discussion before they actually have the kids write in their journals each day. I actually use those for my question of the day. And it's great. I never run out of questions. Questions like, if you could choose one career, what would it be that you'd still be doing 20 years from now and why? If you could earn a reasonable allowance, what would it be and what chores would you do to earn that allowance? If you could meet one famous person from the past or present, who would it be? Questions like this, the kids love to answer these questions. In fact, I tell my kids, I'll do this throughout the day as long as we don't get a check on the board, which means we're off task if we get a check. So if we can work not to get that check, I'll ask these questions throughout the day. Or individually, if you keep your name off my pad, you haven't broken any of the rules, and I ask a question, I'll ask you. You'll be one of the first ones I ask. But if you have your name on the board that day or on my pad, I don't put my names on the board. If I put them on a pad throughout the day, I'll say, I'm sorry, I can't ask you today. So tomorrow, keep your name off my pad, and maybe you'll get to answer one of those questions. This is quick, it's easy, it's fun, it's a great way to get to know your team. Hey, give it a shot. I think you'll enjoy it. I know your kids will. And remember, best year ever. You have the power to make it happen.